rain hammered down on the cracked windshield of Marcus Thompson's old pickup truck as he pulled into the gravel parking lot of Murphy's Tavern. The neon sign buzzed and flickered in the darkness, casting strange shadows across the puddles forming in the potholes. Marcus sat there for a moment, listening to the rain and the distant rumble of thunder rolling across the Alabama sky. He had driven 300 miles to get here, to this small town where nobody knew his name or what he had done in places most people could not even find on a map. All he wanted was a quiet drink and maybe some peace before heading to his sister's funeral in the morning. 23 years in Delta Force had taught him how to disappear, how to become invisible even in plain sight. But tonight, fate had other plans for him. Marcus stepped out into the rain, feeling the cold water soak through his plain black t-shirt immediately. He did not run or hurry. Men who had faced worse than rain in the mountains of Afghanistan did not flinch at a little water. The bar door creaked as he pushed it open, and the smell hit him first. Stale beer mixed with cigarette smoke, and something else, something darker, that made his instincts wake up. The place was exactly what he expected from a small-town bar in the Deep South. Confederate flags on the walls, country music playing from an old jukebox, and a handful of locals scattered around wooden tables scarred by years of use. Marcus walked to the bar, his boots making soft sounds on the sticky floor. The bartender, an older white man with nervous eyes, looked at him and then quickly looked away. Marcus had seen that look before. It was the look of someone who knew trouble was coming but did not want to be part of it. "Whiskey, neat," Marcus said quietly, placing a $20 bill on the bar. The bartender poured the drink with shaking hands, spilling a few drops on the worn wood. Marcus noticed everything without seeming to look around. 4 men sat in the corner booth, and they had stopped talking the moment he walked in. Their leader, a big man with a Confederate flag tattoo on his neck, was staring at him with cold blue eyes. The other 3 were younger, probably in their 20s, trying to look tough but really just looking scared and angry. Marcus knew their type. He had seen them in 100 different places, always the same. Men who needed to feel powerful by making others feel small. Men who confused cruelty with strength. The whiskey burned going down, and Marcus let it settle in his stomach while he counted the exits and measured distances. 2 doors, 4 windows, 7 potential weapons within reach if things went bad. Old habits from old wars. "Hey boy," the voice came from behind him, loud and meant to carry across the whole bar. Marcus did not turn around. He took another sip of his whiskey and watched the bartender's face go even paler. "I said, hey, boy, you deaf or something?" The voice was closer now, and Marcus could smell the beer and tobacco on the man's breath. Still, he did not turn. He had learned long ago that the first rule of avoiding a fight was not to feed the fire. But some fires burned, regardless of what you did. "This here is a private establishment," the man continued, and now Marcus could see him in the mirror behind the bar, the big one with the tattoo, standing maybe 6 feet away with his 3 friends spread out behind him. "We do not serve your kind here." Marcus set his glass down carefully and finally turned around. The man was bigger up close, maybe 6'3", and built like someone who had done physical labor all his life. His friends were trying to look intimidating, but Marcus could see the uncertainty in their eyes. They were followers, not leaders. They would do whatever the big man did. "I paid for my drink," Marcus said calmly. "I will finish it and leave." The big man laughed, and it was an ugly sound. "You will leave when I tell you to leave. Matter of fact, you will leave right now." He reached behind his back, and Marcus saw the outline of a pistol tucked into his waistband. The other 3 spread out more, trying to surround him. The bartender had disappeared somewhere, probably calling the police or maybe just hiding. "Smart man. My name is Cole Hutchinson," the big man said, pulling out the gun now and holding it loosely at his side. "My daddy was Grand Dragon of the local chapter, and his daddy before him. This town belongs to us, and we decide who drinks here." His friends laughed nervously, feeding off his energy. One of them, a skinny kid with bad teeth, pulled out a knife and started cleaning his fingernails with it, trying to look casual and dangerous at the same time. Marcus measured distances again. 4 feet to Cole, 6 to the kid with the knife, 8 and 10 to the other two. The gun was a problem, but Cole was holding it wrong, finger already on the trigger like an amateur. That made him more dangerous, not less. Scared men with guns killed more people than professionals. "I do not want any trouble," Marcus said, keeping his voice level. "Just let me finish my drink and I will go." Cole raised the gun, pointing it at Marcus's chest. "You will go now, or I will put you down like the dog you are." The words hung in the air like smoke. Marcus could feel the familiar calm settling over him, the same feeling he had before every mission. Time seemed to slow down. He could see the sweat on Cole's forehead, the way his finger was tightening on the trigger, the positions of all 4 men. 23 years of training took over, and his body knew what to do before his mind even processed it. Marcus moved faster than thought. His left hand swept up and out, knocking the gun to the side just as Cole pulled the trigger. The bullet went into the ceiling, and plaster rained down like snow. Before Cole could react, Marcus's right elbow connected with his throat. The big man made a choking sound and stumbled backward. The kid with the knife lunged forward, but Marcus caught his wrist, twisted, and the knife clattered to the floor. A knee to the stomach doubled him over, and a palm strike to the back of the head put him down. The other 2 tried to rush him at the same time, but Marcus had fought multiple opponents in places where losing meant dying. He sidestepped the first one, using his momentum to send him crashing into a table. The second one threw a wild punch that Marcus ducked under, then came up with an uppercut that lifted the man off his feet. Cole was trying to get up, still gasping for air and reaching for his gun. Marcus kicked it across the room, then grabbed Cole by his shirt and pulled him to his feet. The big man's eyes were wide with fear now, all his bravado gone. "Please," he gasped, "do not kill me." Marcus looked at him for a long moment, then let him go. Cole fell to his knees, coughing and holding his throat. His friends were groaning on the floor, conscious but not eager to continue the fight. "You pulled a gun on the wrong man," Marcus said quietly. "My name is Major Marcus Thompson, retired Delta Force. I have killed more men than you have, had hot meals, and I did it for my country. Men who were actual threats, not drunk bullies in backwater bars." The rain outside had gotten heavier, drumming on the roof like artillery fire. Marcus walked back to the bar and finished his whiskey in one swallow. The bartender had reappeared, standing in the doorway to the back room with his mouth hanging open. "Call the police," Marcus told him. "Tell them what happened. I will wait outside." He walked toward the door, stepping over the groaning bodies on the floor. At the door, he turned back to look at Cole, who was still on his knees. "Your daddy might have been Grand Dragon, but that does not mean anything to men like me. Next time you want to feel powerful, remember this moment. Remember how it felt when real power walked into your little world." Marcus stepped out into the rain and walked to his truck. He could hear sirens in the distance, getting closer. He leaned against the hood and let the rain wash over him, thinking about his sister and the funeral tomorrow. She had always worried about him during his deployments, always prayed he would come home safe. She never knew that sometimes the most dangerous places were right here at home, in small towns where hate lived in the hearts of small men. The police cars pulled into the parking lot, their lights painting everything red and blue. Marcus raised his hands slowly, showing he was not a threat. He had been through this before. He knew how it would go. The officers approached carefully, hands on their weapons. Marcus explained what happened calmly and clearly. He had his military ID, his concealed carry permit, all his paperwork in order. One of the officers, an older black man, listened to his story and nodded. "We know Cole and his crew," the officer said quietly. They have been causing trouble for years, but nobody ever stood up to them before. He looked at the door of the bar, where Cole and his friends were being led out in handcuffs. You did this town a favor, Major Thompson. Marcus spent the next 2 hours giving statements and filling out paperwork. The security cameras in the bar had caught everything, showing clearly that Cole had drawn first and Marcus had acted in self-defense. By the time they let him go, the rain had stopped and the first hints of dawn were showing in the eastern sky. He drove to a motel on the edge of town and got a room. Tomorrow he would bury his sister and say goodbye. But tonight, he lay on the bed and thought about all the fights he had been in, all the battles he had won and lost. This one felt different somehow. This one felt like it mattered in a way that had nothing to do with national security or global politics. The funeral was small, just family and a few old friends. Marcus stood by the grave in his dress uniform, the medals on his chest catching the morning sunlight. His sister had been a teacher, spending her whole life trying to make the world better one child at a time. She would have been proud of him for standing up to Cole and his gang, but she also would have worried about him. She always worried about him. After the service, he drove back through town on his way home. As he passed Murphy's Tavern, he saw something that made him stop. There was a new sign in the window that said "Everyone Welcome" in big letters. The Confederate flags were gone from the windows. It was a small thing, maybe, but it was something. A few weeks later, Marcus got a letter forwarded from the police department. It was from Cole Hutchinson, writing from county jail. The letter was short and badly spelled, but the message was clear. Cole wrote that he had been thinking about what Marcus said that night. He wrote that he was sorry and that maybe it was time to let go of his daddy's hate. He wrote that he wanted to be better when he got out. Marcus did not know if Cole meant it or if he would really change. People usually did not change that much, in his experience. But maybe, sometimes, when they got scared enough, or hurt enough, or embarrassed enough, they could surprise you. Marcus kept a letter in a drawer with his medals and photos from his service. Every now and then, he would take it out and read it again, remembering that night in the rain when he walked into a bar wanting peace and found a fight instead. He thought about his sister and what she would say. She would probably tell him that even small victories mattered, that every person who chose love over hate made the world a little bit brighter. She was always an optimist like that. Years passed, and Marcus heard through various channels that Cole had indeed changed when he got out of jail. He had gotten a job, stayed out of trouble, and even volunteered at a community center, teaching kids boxing as a way to stay out of gangs. His old crew had scattered, some following his example, and others ending up in prison for various crimes. Murphy's Tavern had new owners, a mixed-race couple who turned it into a popular spot where everyone really was welcome. The town itself was slowly changing, the old hate dying out as new generations chose different paths. Marcus never went back to that town, but he thought about it sometimes. He thought about how one moment of standing up to evil could ripple outward in ways you never expected. He thought about his sister and how proud she would be. He thought about all the fights he had been in, across deserts and mountains and jungles, and how sometimes the most important battles were the ones closest to home, the ones where you stood up not because it was your job or your mission, but simply because it was the right thing to do. That night at Murphy's Tavern had started with gang polls. Gun on black man at bar, unaware he's a Delta Force commander, but it had ended with something more. It had ended with a small victory for decency, a crack in the wall of hate that had stood for generations. Marcus knew that one fight did not change the world. He had seen too much to believe in that kind of simple solution. But he also knew that every victory mattered, no matter how small. Every time someone stood up to hate, every time someone chose courage over fear, it made a difference. His sister had taught him that, in her quiet way. She had fought her battles with books and kindness, while he had fought his with training and violence. But in the end, They were fighting for the same thing. A world where everyone could walk into a bar and order a drink without fear. A world where the color of your skin did not determine your worth. A world where strength meant protecting the weak, not terrorizing them. Marcus Thompson continued his quiet life, carrying his memories and his scars from wars both foreign and domestic. He never sought out fights, but he never backed down from them either. He had learned that sometimes the universe put you exactly where you needed to be, even if it was not where you wanted to be. That night in the rain, he had wanted peace and found violence instead. But maybe, in a strange way, he had found peace after all. The peace that came from knowing you had done the right thing, even when it was dangerous. The peace that came from knowing that evil could be faced and defeated, even if only for a moment. The peace that came from knowing that somewhere, in a small town in Alabama, a bar that had once been a fortress of hate now welcomed everyone who walked through its doors.